Welcome to our next video lesson, and we're going to continue along the theme of product development, and hopefully there's going to be another activity this week that will help your creative process and help you towards developing your new product. So the key learning outcome again is being able to understand product development and the tools that a business can use to help them with that process. So the individual learning outcomes are all of you should by now understand why businesses need to develop new products. Most of you will examine the process of how businesses can develop new products, and some of you will start this creative process and you will develop a new product. So the tool we're going to look at this week is the design mix. Now, I asked you to research the design mix a couple of weeks ago, but here's a recap on how it works. So the design mix concentrates on three key elements: aesthetics, how the product looks; functionality, what the product does; and economic manufacture, how much the product costs to produce. Now, if you're designing a new product, then you need to consider all of these elements. It's important that you consider how a product looks. It's important that you consider how well the product works. How well does it carry out the function that it's designed to do? And it is important that you consider how much it is going to cost you to supply that product to the end user. So, for example, a tin of Tesco value beans as a product, the main thing that the company is focused on is the economic manufacture, and this is because these beans are sold incredibly cheaply, so they need to make sure that that is factored in and they can supply them at the cost that is required. So it's not as important for these beans to look good. It's not as important for them to taste amazing because they are a value product. So all products will fall somewhere within the design mix. So as an example, I placed the Tesco value beans towards the economic manufacture because that is the most important element for this product. So if we consider this further, economic manufacture is to ensure that the manufacture is cost effective and the company can make a profit if they sell that product. So for example, some products might not need to produce the product at a really cheap price. So for example, if you looked at a Rolex watch, economic manufacture wouldn't be the key element because it will be commanding a premium price. So they haven't got to worry about producing the product as cheaply as possible. Function is about ensuring that the product or service does exactly what it should. So some products are more about functionality. So for example, a parachute. The main thing you would want from a parachute is that actually it works, and if you jump out of an aeroplane, it's going to get you to ground safely. So you wouldn't want to scrimp on costs because you want to use good materials because you want it to work, and it's not really that important how it looks, it's about how it works. Aesthetics is really about how the product looks. So for example, designer clothes are more about how they look. They're not always particularly functional. It's more about how they look. Again, they don't have to worry too much about economic manufacture because they will be sold for a really high price. Now, most businesses have to strike a balance between the three, because it's important that you always keep control of your costs in business. So you would always consider the cost element. Most people also want a product that actually functions and does what it says. So you would consider what is the key purpose of the product. And again, most people would rather have a product that looks nice. So as a designer for a business, you would need to consider all three elements, but what you would do is more emphasis would be placed on one or two of these elements. Now, we've looked at the theory of how businesses develop new products and why. So we develop new products as a business because products become obsolete, because people want new and better products. That's human nature. It might be that we develop new products because we want to expand and develop into a new market. It might be we develop new products to ensure that we're able to compete effectively against rival companies. So I'm asking you to develop a new hat. Now, so far, you should have completed a mood board. And a mood board was just some general ideas to get this creative process started about trying to think about, well, what kind of materials could you use? What kind of hat might you want to design? What kind of hat is popular at the moment? What are celebrities working? So it's very much just pulling those first thoughts together. If you've not completed your mood board, you need to make sure that you complete your mood board. If you've completed it, you can always go back in and you can always add to it and you can always improve it. Make sure though that you do save your mood boards. Last week, I asked you following on from the mood board task, I asked you to complete a scamper exercise. And what this was about was considering existing hats that are currently available and asking a series of questions to help you come up with potential new designs. And I asked you to make sure that you had read a Mind Tools article on Scamper. Again, if you've not done that work, you need to make sure that is complete. Now, this week's task is all about the design mix. And it's important when you design your products that you do consider these three key elements in the design mix. So you need to consider economic manufacture. How much is it going to cost you to manufacture your hat? You do not need to be specific at this point with prices, but you need to explain that you are considering how much it is going to cost to manufacture the hat, bearing in mind how much you are likely to be able to sell it for. It's important that you consider how your hat looks. It's important that you produce a hat, whoever you are aiming to sell the hat to, that looks good, that people will want to buy. The final thing you need to consider is the functionality. What function will that hat carry out? It might be just the function of the hat might be fashion, to make you look good. It might be to keep your head warm. It might be a safety hat. It might be a hat that has got a function with regards to a particular activity. So, for example, outdoors activity, walking. So, what you need to do is you need to explain how you've considered each element of the design mix with relation to your hat design, or how you're going to consider it and why it's important. So why is it important to consider aesthetics when designing a hat? Why is it important to consider functionality when you're designing a hat? Why is it important to consider how much you are going to be able to produce the hat for? So you need to explain all three elements. You then need to go on and you need to explain which elements are the key focus and why. Is one element or two elements more important than the other? And that is really important because it's very rare that a product would sit right in the middle of the design mix and equal consideration has been given to all three elements. Now, there are a couple of ways that you could do this task. You could do it as a very simple, straightforward Word document where you look at all three elements, you talk about each one, and then you do a paragraph, a couple of paragraphs underneath, which explain which are the most important elements and why. And that would be absolutely fine. Another way you could do it is you could try to create the design mix, do the triangle with the three elements, and insert text boxes, or you could do this as a written document and explain the same information but on a document. You might want to actually place on your design mix the actual product so you can see which one or which two elements are the main focus, and again explain that underneath. It's entirely up to you. I want this to, again, because it is a creative process, I want you to be creative with the task and do it in a way that you are most comfortable with. So that might be the simple Word document. It might be creating the design mix on Word or in some other computer package, or it might be that you simply do this on a piece of paper and you draw the design mix and you handwrite it. It's absolutely fine. Upload your work to Teams, please. If you are doing it in a non-electronic way, a photo of your work would be great, and upload that photo. Good luck. Hope you're enjoying these creative elements, and again, try and make sure that all tasks are up to date.